This presentation is using a UAV to scout a field. In this case, we're going to be talking about soybeans. I'm John Scott, the Extension Coordinator for Digital Agriculture with Purdue University and the Wabash Heartland Innovation Network.
All right, so today what we're going to talk about is how I would go out and scout a field. Primarily one that it would be the first time I've either scouted it ever or the first time that season. Kind of the process I go through when I'm rolling up on that, and that's scouting with a drone or a UAV. A lot of times during the growing season, I'll do this same practice every time I do fly that field, but it depends on number of constraints, time being the big one. Sometimes if it's something I'm just out there to look at real quick, I'll just take it up and do a quick flight. But for the first trip and a lot of subsequent trips, I like to map it first so I can kind of see what's going on, get a general feel for the field, and then I can go back through and manually fly and scout. So today what we're going to talk about is drone deploy, which is this app right here. But the other options, this one right here is DJI Ground Station Pro, GSP. That's an option that works for flying. Another one that's good is Field Agent. That's by Centera. So that's another option. Then there are multiple options, more so than even these. So we're going to open up DJI. In this case, the drone's already connected. I have it on. I also am currently running Wi-Fi for this field, so we can work on setting it up. Try to go ahead and load the field. So we're going to come here. Here's our field. I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag these coordinates in. So this one has been flown before, but it just laid in. I like to use the base map when I'm laying these out. Just helps kind of get you an idea where the field boundaries, have been historically. Sometimes it's not 100%. You'll have to make adjustments when you do the flights over time, but it's usually pretty close. If you've made changes in your own field, then you're going to know about it. If it's a producer's field, then a lot of times they'll let people know that, hey, I've made some adjustments, and if they don't, you'll find out pretty quick where those adjustments have been made. That's probably good enough for now for this example. So you can see over here on the left hand side, the map plan is what it's called. You can change the name of that. For the example, we'll just leave it. Then we've got our plan basically. So it's going to take 15 minutes, 30 acres, 295 images roughly in one battery. Right now it's flying at 200 feet. We can tweak that. I think we're going to, let's say 300. It didn't like that. It wants to go below that or below 200 just because of how small this field is. Switch to look at our advanced settings. If there's anything we want to change inside of there. In this case, we will change our side overlap. That'll work. So, as you can see, it changed our side overlap. Our time's about the same. Obstacle avoidance, we can have that on or off, especially at this height. If we scroll down, you can set the exposure or not. In this case, for the example, I'm not. A lot of times I will go ahead and do that. Just so I can have a little bit more control over the exposure value and really understand and the focus and really dial it and understand what am I getting out of these images, out of this set of imagery. In this case, we do have a compass there. I saw it flash there at the bottom. So we're going to check that real quick. So we'll go to the DJI app, open that up, In this case, it looks like it's okay. Oh, there it is. There is our calibration problem. So we need to recalibrate the compass on the drone. Okay. All right, so we'll hit the calibrate button, start, and we're going to calibrate. Okay, so it said the calibration failed, so we will recalibrate. Calibration was successful. Drone back down. This stage of the game, we are fully calibrated. Go back to the stitching app. A lot of times you don't have to recalibrate the compass every single time. It really varies. You just recalibrate it when you need to. So our plan's still here. I do want that at 70%, not 80. If it was corn, I would probably do 80. This is soybeans, so 70% we can get by with. Everything looks good. I'm happy with it. So I'll hit the start pre-flight checklist. That'll go through the pre-flight checklist. In this case, there is a third-party camera attached to that. It's a Centera double 4K. So it says some of the things might not be available. That's okay. Hit continue anyway. That's just one of the things that the errors that they have for using a third-party camera with their particular software. So at this point in time, all of the planning is done. It's gone through the pre-flight checklist, everything checked out, and we're ready to start the flight. So we'll go ahead and start this flight. So the drone's initializing. You can see down here in the lower left-hand corner, the drone is now flying. It just flipped the camera down, and it is heading up to do its job. So our altitude, our altimeter right now is 109 feet above the takeoff point, and we're 1 foot away roughly from the distance. Now if you look at the rest of the plan, the drone itself is the blue circle with the white arrow in it, and once it hits altitude, roughly now, it'll be a little higher than its maximum flight. It'll fly over and it'll start flying the job. What you're looking at too here is the satellite image is showing 14, so you've got 14 satellites. We have good connection, strong connection for the video feed and from the radio controller to the drone itself, and it's flying the job. One of the neat things about this software and a lot of the other softwares now as well is it'll label in what's called a live map. It'll actually kind of stitch on the go, so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on in the field while it's flying. In this case, you can see where it's darker and lighter. That big dark blob is a cloud. It is a fairly cloudy day here today. I think today's August 20th, 2020. So it's pretty cloudy, a lot of cumulus clouds in the sky. So this is not when you would want to fly a field for imagery. This is really just for this example. So you can kind of get a feel for what we're seeing. Here's your bird's eye view. Going on, so we've got in our SD card, we have 29.7 gigabytes free, so we've got lots of room. We've got 83% battery, roughly a 21 minute flight time. Here where it says shows 26, 27, in a minute that'll be 28. That's our camera, that's our pictures. Beside that would be video, and if we were taking video, and beside that would be a panoramic if we were taking panoramic pictures. And then it kind of gives you a rough idea on what the name of the plan and how much time it should take and how much time has elapsed. So it's going to continue flying. It gets down to the end, it'll turn around and it'll automatically come back. At this stage of the game, I am not touching the controls. I'm literally just standing here watching the drone fly as it goes down the field and turns around and comes back home, and letting it do its thing. And keeping an eye on the field and kind of just getting a general feel for what do I see in this field. What are some spots that I might want to go back later and fly down lower or get some stills or some video of and really understand what's going on in this field. With that, I think I'm going to stop recording the flight. I mean, it gives you a general idea on what we're seeing, what you're seeing on the flight. I'll let it go ahead and finish stitching this together, or flying this field, and then we'll be back with a manual flight as well, so you can kind of get a feel for, you know, going out and just looking in the field and seeing what's going on. All right, next up, we have already flown the field. We've got a stitched image. We've seen the live map. Got a feel for what we're seeing out there in the field. So I know, you know, maybe some of the key points of where I really want to make sure I hit. So now I'm going to take it up and just manually fly. Probably take some videos, or at least a video, and some images, some photographs as well. So to do that, at this stage, I'm going to open the DJI Go 4 app. Again, I have a DJI Phantom 4 Pro, so we use this app. This is their home app. If you had a different type of drone, you would use whatever app they would use. So I'm using the same battery right now. So my battery is going to be a little bit lower, but it should be okay. Ignore that for now. So what we're seeing here across the board, our GPS, we've got 12 satellites. We've got our collision sensors are disabled, which is what that red thing means. But we have strong signal between the remote control and the drone, and also strong video signal, and we're at 52% battery. We also, right below that, you can see where it says auto, ISO, shutter, F, EV, and WB. So those are our camera settings. So our ISO is 100, our shutter is 1/400, our f-stop, so our aperture, the opening of the lens, is 5.6, and our exposure value is 0.0, so it's locked in. Then our white balance to control for cloud or sun is an automatic. Then we are shooting in JPEG, so we're collecting JPEG photographs, and our capacity for that is 3,800 images that we can capture. Right now it is set in autofocus, that's at AFC. If I hit this, I can switch to manual focus, where I can change my focal point. So I can either, if you look at the barn, especially there in the background, here it gets a little bit more blurry. When I flip it back, it's a lot more sharper, a lot more crisp. In autofocus, it's going to go ahead and just try to do that on its own to the best of its ability. The other main thing that I'd usually use would be, this here's our camera settings, so look inside the camera, so I can change between auto, aperture, priority, S priority, and manual, and I can tweak whatever I want inside of there to change things. So I can change the aperture if I choose to, the shutter speed if I want, and then I can tweak all those, and I can tweak those on the go. A lot of times when I'm flying manually, I will just leave it in auto and let the camera adjust so that I can focus on flying, which is really what I'm there to do. The other thing that I'll do sometimes is I can switch between, push that button, I can switch between video and camera. There's also analog buttons on the controller where I can do that as well. Put that back in that. The controller. Put the iPad on the, so I can see, and we're going to take off.
Take off. The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
So we're going up over the trees. Right now we're 100 feet up and climbing, and you can kind of get a general idea. There's the field. And right there we just took a picture of kind of an overview of the field. We still have this little corner here. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to fly over. So we're 192 feet in the air, almost 200 feet in the air. I'll come off the side a little bit, try to get off that road. What I want to do is, I'm going to go over, I want to get a general, pretty good picture of this whole field. So I got the bottom of the field right there. You can see the back of the field with a quick picture. You guys can see all those clouds across there too. That's what I was talking about with the imagery earlier. This is not the ideal condition to fly for imagery, but such is life. Got some field or some weeds right here. In this case, this is along an old fence row where these weeds are really popping up. Get a picture of that, kind of get an idea. Looks like those back there might be controlled a little bit better. Fly over there and take a gander. Got some grass waterways. They've been mowed. They look good. There's some weeds kind of there along the edge. You can see the sprayer tracks, so this has been sprayed fairly recently. Probably. Or it just didn't fill in real well when it was. Get back here behind the woods and see what's back there. Looks pretty good. Got some more weeds right there. Get a picture of that. Now again, we're at 200 feet. You can't tell what that weed is, but we know where they are. We've got a record of them. And from up here, what I like to do is just kind of get a feel for what am I seeing in this field. What are the worst spots. We'll get down a little bit lower here later and really kind of look at these weeds a little bit more. Right now, I'm just trying to get kind of a general idea. You know, how widespread are these issues in the field? What are we seeing throughout this field? All in all, it's not bad. And seeing what I'm seeing here, I'm guessing it's probably maybe volunteer corn, but most likely we've got a fair amount of giant ragweed. We're going to fly down a little bit lower, this little guy right here, and sorry about that. I imagine that was a bit of a trip. Yeah, that's giant ragweed. We'll get in a little closer. So it has been sprayed. It looks like the leaves don't look like they feel very good, but that's definitely pollinating. I imagine that'll go ahead and go to seed. But yep, there she is. Get a close-up picture of that. Follow this path. It looks like some of that ragweed might be dead, so I want to get down and take a look at it as well while I'm here. See, you know, how well is it controlled, or is it not? And I'd be curious what they did differently. And that's a conversation to have with the producer. Yeah, those are smoked. Looks like. It's interesting how those are smoked and the one right next to it's still green. So a few ragweed here and there, looks like. I mean, that's what those clumps really are. Overall, I mean, overall not a bad looking stand of beans. Not seeing a lot of really discoloration in the air. There's something right there, that light patch. That's in the crosshairs. So fly back down, take a look at it. Hard to tell in some cases with the different colors because of the clouds. There's another ragweed patch right there. We're going to go ahead real quick and go up to 400 feet so you can get an appreciation for what 400 feet looks like. So 3. Okay, we are at 400 feet right here. So that's 400 feet. There's the horizon. A neat field. They got a little strip trial in there, maybe different hybrids. There's that field. There's that angle of the field. Again, here's the horizon. I mean, so you can see a good long ways. Now, they're of limited value really because, yeah, it's a pretty picture, but I can't tell any of these fields hardly. You can see there's something maybe in this field here, but you really have limited utility. You know, you got
Battery level is low. The aircraft will go to the home point in 10 seconds.
So battery's running out. We better bring her home and land it. The other thing I like to do sometimes is take a video. Let's go ahead and grab a video now while we're bringing it back. So this is taking a video. You can see there in the right hand side, it's 8 seconds now. Well, we're taking a video. We can also take pictures. Call it good. And we'll go ahead and start thinking about landing her. Put her down in the driveway here. Make sure when you're landing, you got a safe zone to land in. I do like to land on something hard. If you want to use a pad, that's fine. But somewhere you can have somewhere safe to put it down. Put it down. Shut it. Pull the thing down to the propeller stop, and you're good to go. And that kind of gives you a general idea on things that you're looking for, things to see, things to look at in the field. You can see kind of the quality of the imagery that you can really get from these things. And this is just a production soybean field. And right now, actually, I'm down around Thorntown, Indiana. So, there's nothing special about this field. It's just a production field like any other that I would fly. We'll close this out, and that's basically how I fly a field when I'm scouting it with the UAV, whether it's a production field or something where we have a study, things like that. Those are the practices I use, and that's what I recommend to people if you are interested in flying them and really getting the full value out of the UAV to think about doing it this way. At the very least, make sure that you can get up there and just get some good images and some good video if you don't want to use the stitching software. But that stitching software really just brings it full circle to where you can really dial in and understand exactly what's going on in the field. Now, that's not to say that none of this replaces, the boots on the ground, getting out in the field. So a lot of times what I would probably go out and do is go ahead when I'm done here and take a walk to some of these spots that I noticed where we had that ragweed and kind of get a general idea of how's the ragweed look. Has it been sprayed? And maybe we have that rapid necrosis response where it takes a glyphosate and kills and then comes back. What changed between the ones that didn't die and the ones that look like they did die? Can I go out there and just take a sample and maybe do a quick evaluation to kind of understand how did that happen? So you still need to get out there and see the crop and see the conditions, but it really helps understand where do I need to go. And then the beautiful thing too is you can also, if you fly them multiple times in growing season, you can go back in time, in effect, and really see and understand what's happening in this field as the growing season progresses.